And of course, all eyes are on this international break. A couple of big games coming up, but we have to talk about Lamine Yamal and Spain because once again, they are making the headlines, especially with the latest news that Lamine Yamal has been withdrawn from Spain's qualifiers after undergoing a procedure to help an ongoing groin injury. Now, Spain coach Luis de la Fuente had this to say: "I've never experienced a situation like this before. I don't think it's very normal, of course. It surprised me, as it did everyone else. You don't hear anything, you don't know any details, and I insist when it comes to health and fitness issues, you're left surprised." All right, well, let's also welcome in Stewart, Robson, and Lowe. Sid, you know I'm going to have to start with you because yet another international break and yet another time that Lamine Yamal and Spain and De La Fuente are making headlines. How much of a big deal is this latest news in Spain?
This is a massive big deal. This afternoon, the president of the Spanish Football Federation, Rafael said, "I'm not going to talk about this, I'm not going to cause more controversy." And you kind of thought to yourself, well, it's a bit late for that. It's already happened. And it's happened because the Federation put out a very, very blunt statement, a very direct statement, in which they said that they felt that the medical services at Barcelona had not informed them, had acted badly, and as a result they were in no position but to tell Lamine Yamal to not continue with the Spanish national team during this international get-together. Now, you can then unpack the things that have happened in terms of the radio frequency treatment that he's been given, in terms of the fact that he played 90 minutes for Barcelona on Sunday night but then doesn't go to the national team, in terms of those question marks over who's communicating with who, and why, and what responsibility does club and country have. But the most significant thing I think about this is that in the middle of it all is Lamine Yamal, and you've got a federation and Barcelona who are very much and very publicly at war with each other now.
Robbo, I know that you also had to deal with a lot of injuries back in your career, oftentimes having to prioritize club or country. You really feel for Lamine Yamal in this situation. But what are your thoughts on how this situation is being handled?
Well, it's obviously not being handled very well, and the most important person is Yamal because he's still only 17. And we talk about protecting players. We talk about, you know, he mustn't play him too often. Well, that goes to Barcelona, but it also goes with the national team. And if he's got a slight injury and he's got a slight groin injury, then he shouldn't be going. That's as simple as that. You know, and I don't care what the Spanish Federation say about it or not. The player is the most important thing. He's got to make sure he's fit. Remember, he's still 17. We can't 1 minute say we've got to protect him, you've got to make sure he doesn't play too many games, and then moan when he doesn't go with the Spanish team when he's got a slight knock. The question is, has he got a slight knock? But I've got no problems with Yamal not going at all.
Yeah, Stevie, when you look at Lamine Yamal, well, when you look at Spain playing or when you look at Barcelona playing, you're looking for Lamine Yamal's name first on that team sheet because he's just that man. He's that player. He's that young man at only 18 years old. But as a coach, how much do you actually have dialogue with the national team coach, especially in situations like these?
Well, I think, considering what's going on recently, I wouldn't imagine there's too much dialogue going on.
We can tell.
I mean, Hansi Flick was not pleased that Yamal was made to play with an injury, 2 windows ago? So I would suggest that between De La Fuentes and Hansi Flick, there's not a lot of communication. And quite frankly, if I'm De La Fuentes, I don't want any communication. I don't know why he's talking about this. He should be passing this on to the Federation. This is between the Federation and Barcelona.
You think it's far gone now, that he can't just call up Hansi Flick and have a chat?
Well, I think that would be the sensible thing to do, but at the same time, I think he should probably just stay out of it. Let the Federation and Barcelona figure this out, instead of him coming in and throwing in his tuppence worth. At the end of the day, his job is about when the players come, what does he do with them? In terms of coaching them, in terms of playing, who should play, who shouldn't play. Why he wants to get involved in some sort of war of words with Barcelona and Hansi Flick makes no sense to me. If you don't have to be in it, keep out it.
Yes, as we said, putting what the two coaches are saying aside, as Robbo pointed out, the most important person in this is Lamine Yamal. And here we are another month talking about this ongoing groin injury. How much of a concern has it become?
Well, I actually think that's a difficult question to answer because I think obviously the main concern is his physical fitness, it's the management of that injury. But I think in a way it goes beyond that now because it's not just about him, it's about the difficulties that have been caused in what should be a relatively fluid relationship between federation and club and between the two sets of medical staff. Now, of course, the background to this is, as Stevie was pointing out, in the last get-together, the Spanish national team gave him a painkilling injection for one of the games and Barcelona weren't happy about that. And they were talking about how the Spanish national team weren't protecting him. That's then created a lack of trust between the two sides. You get a situation in which when the squad was announced last Friday, Luis de la Fuente said he's in perfect condition. We can see that because he's playing for Barcelona. And he let it be known, essentially, if he plays for Barcelona the last game before the window starts, as far as I'm concerned, he's fit. Now, that's not the way to deal with Lamine Yamal. And so there is a fundamental basic issue, which is what kind of condition is he in? And then the subsequent issue, which I think is even bigger at this point, which is, and do we trust the two sides to tell each other the truth about his fitness and to manage him in the best interests of him? Which, of course, in the long term, which both of them seem to have overlooked a little bit, is in the best interest of both of them as well. And it's extraordinary, really, that you've got club and country who've got a player this good, this young, who's likely to be their best player for a decade or more, and they're handling it like this. And as usual, it's pointing the finger at each other and no one takes responsibility. They want everyone else to take responsibility for it.
Let's be honest here. When you've got a player, never mind a guy as talented as Yamal, a 17-year-old... 18-year-old, beg your pardon. Robbo, come on, get your facts right, Robbo.
He only turned 18 this summer, so we'll pardon it.
When you are given an 18-year-old a painkilling injection to play in the international stage, what do you think Barcelona are going to think? What do you think Hansi... So the whole Spanish Federation and De La Fuentes 100% are in the wrong here. And if they think that Barcelona owe them anything after doing something like that, then, in my opinion, they don't. And I can assure you, I had problems with my groin my whole career, and I missed a lot of international games because of it. I was just lucky that at that particular time, it was down to me and the club. For some reason over the years, the international federations have gotten so much power now. It seems incredible.
Back in your career as well, when you had to deal with all the injuries and the kind of tug of war between club and country, how did you deal with it?
Well, a lot of the injuries started on international duty where I'd been playing. I got in the first team at 17 and particularly at the youth level to start with. We had to go once a month for 2 days to Lilleshall to train very hard for 2 days. And they wanted me to go. The FA said I had to go, even though I was playing in the first team for Arsenal, and then having to go back on a Wednesday and play in the evening for Arsenal in the first team. It then progressed later on when I was picked for 2 or 3 England squads and under 23 squads before that. And I said to the club, I've got slight injury. I don't really want to go. I want to make sure I'm fit to play for Arsenal the next week. And that's what I did. But the England FA didn't like it and it caused me a problem. It then caused me a further problem when I did go with England when I was injured. I came back to Arsenal and George Graham had just taken over. And I said to him, I'm not sure I can play on Saturday. And he said, looks as though you've put country before club. And I said, well, before you came, I put club before country on 6 occasions. And one occasion that I might have done the opposite, you're now reprimanding me and saying that I've got to have something done. So it was a difficult time, juggling between club and country.
Sid, interesting to hear Robbo talk about how he dealt with the situation and obviously how vocal he was as well between club and country. We know that Lamine Yamal does have a pretty vocal camp when they are ready. What are you hearing about how the player must be feeling or anything he said or his camp has said in this situation?
Well, just to pick up on what Robbo's saying there, and I think that's really interesting, and I think obviously there are some players who have the nerve to say so, and there are other players who don't. There are players who don't dare to suggest that they shouldn't go to the international setup because they're worried that they won't get called again, or they don't dare to say to their clubs, look, I really, really want to go if their clubs are stopping them going. You think back, for example, at how few international games people like Ryan Giggs played because Manchester United protected him from that and there was a prioritisation of club over country. That happens with a lot of clubs and a lot of countries, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're in this position now, because basically club and country don't trust each other. Now, in terms of Lamine himself, I think one of the things that's happened in this, given how outspoken Lamine can be, how noisy his camp can be on occasions, and how significant a footballer he is, I actually think, and you know, he's fundamentally the victim of this, of club and country pointing the finger at each other and kind of not helping out and not coordinating their efforts. But I actually think we've lacked his voice in this. Why hasn't there been a comment from him? I think he is a player with the strength and the status to be able to say, okay, look, I mean, right. I'm going to use a really bad metaphor here now, but bear with me, or a bad simile. It's like the kid whose parents are fighting. At some point, that kid's got to say, "Stop it." At some point, that kid has got to put his hands up and say, "Hang on, I thought this was about me." And it feels to me a little bit like that. We could probably do that from Lamine Yamal. Now, I understand that he's not doing it. I understand that it's very difficult, as Robbo's talking about. But maybe that's the next step that we need.
There's a lack of understanding of what they're actually trying to do. You cannot keep squeezing up when somebody's about to play the ball forward, because if the timing of the run's good from midfield or from deep, you're going to be caught out. And it's, as I said, it's not the first time in history that managers have tried to hold a high line. Go back to Stevie's Liverpool, Everton when they won the title. Barcelona, under Terry Venables, tried to play a high line, but they did it much better. Arrigo Sacchi was the best at Milan. And if ever you want to know about how to play with a back four that squeezes up and drops off, watch a video by Arrigo Sacchi, which he made, I think, about 25 years ago. It was called 4-4-2 and how to play it. It tells you exactly the theory and the philosophy and how to do it. This Hansi Flick side, at the moment, don't know how to do it. They were much better in the second half because people dropped off at the right time and they didn't concede too much space in behind. But in the first half, they were horrendous.
The most important thing when you're trying to play a high line is that there's pressure on the man with the ball. I mean, that is... There's very few rules, but that is one and the biggest one. And I'm really surprised that Barcelona are still doing this, because I'm going to say 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, Chesney did an interview after a game, and his exact words. He said, we can't hold the line if there's no pressure on the ball. And now that triggered me, because generally you'll find players repeating things that the coach says. And I thought that sounded a little bit like Hansi Flick's thrown something in, or he's been talking about it. But fast forward 3-4 weeks, nothing has changed. So I think Hansi Flick isn't listening to Chesney, because he clearly knows where the problem is. And when you sit and watch it, we can see what the problem is, but Hansi Flick doesn't seem to want to do anything about it, which is going to cost them.
Yes, Sid. And I mean, of course, the boys have been very critical about that high line on the show. And honestly, since last season, and more so now, since we see it has not been working, I asked our Gemma Soler just at the weekend if there's still a lot of faith in Hansi Flick, even though we could see it's not working as well as it did last season. And she said there is. So do you feel like that's the consensus over in Spain, that Barcelona fans are happy with it at the moment and happy with Hansi Flick sticking to it as long as they're winning and able to outscore their opponents?
Well, obviously the caveat that you put in there, as long as they're winning, that's the key thing, of course. And of course, as long as they're able to continue to get results and play well, despite being caught maybe defensively. I think it's really important what both Stevie and Robbo have been talking about as well, though. And that's that idea that the high line in itself isn't necessarily a problem. It's a high line that's poorly executed that's the problem. As a tactic, it's not definitively a bad tactic. If you get it right, if the pressure's right, if the timing's right, if you don't allow the other team to release those passes, if you can squeeze the game, it can work. As Barcelona mostly showed last year, there were times when they were vulnerable. There were times when we worried that they would start to get caught out, but they won the treble last year. They're only one game away from reaching the Champions League final as well. And so I think in terms of what people think about Hansi Flick, I think most people believe that there is a degree of stubbornness from him, that maybe there are times when they should back off a little bit. But I think there's also a kind of a slightly, how would I put this, a kind of a begrudging appreciation of the fact that he said, no, this is our identity, this is what we're going to do. And what we have to do is do it better, not necessarily stop doing it. Of course, that does put you, unfortunately, on a knife edge.
I think there's a guy called Aage Postecoglou who said that. So what
how did that work out?
Yeah.
Robbo?
Yeah.
Yes, Stevie talked about one rule, that you can't squeeze up when there's no pressure on the ball. There's another one. You can't squeeze up and be running up when the ball is at anybody's feet, that they might play the ball first time. So when the ball is played from A to B, all the time the ball is travelling from one player to the next, they can squeeze up 2 or 3 yards. Get the centre forward to come back onside. And as soon as that player B is about to get on the ball to play it forward, they then have to drop off and be on the half turn, ready to run in behind. In the second half, they did it very well. The first half, they didn't. And that's going to be key. Doing it much better, as Sid just said.
Oh, I thought you were going to chime in. All right, well, let's switch focus now.
Other than agreeing with Robbo? No.
Let's switch focus now to Real Madrid, Barcelona's rivals. This is the cover of Marca Frenazo. That's emergency stop after Real Madrid's 0-0 draw with Rayo Vallecano. And Sid, that stands out because it was their second consecutive game without finding the back of the net. And when you've got the likes of Vinny Jr. and Kylian Mbappe in the form that we have seen him in, it is a bit surprising that they went 2 games without being able to find the back of the net. So why can't they score?
Well, why can't they score? I think because in both games they played poorly, because they didn't create very many chances for those players, because those players themselves were pretty well defended. Those players weren't really at it. There was a lack of intensity, a lack of... I don't want to call it effort because I think that's a bit simplistic, but there wasn't that kind of immediate kind of concentration level, the speed of reaction, the determination to go at people in those 2 games as there'd been in previous games. I think they came up against 2 very good teams as well. Obviously, Liverpool aren't a great team in Premier League terms at the moment, but they're a team that I think at Anfield you can get overrun by Liverpool on a good day. Away at Vallecas, bear in mind this is a 4th time in a row now, 4 seasons in a row that Real Madrid haven't won in Vallecas, so it's not that enormously surprising. But yeah, of course, there's a sense that this isn't going well, and that there's all sorts of reasons for it. That players are not that happy with some of the things that they're trying to do. That there is if you like, a slight breakdown in the authority of Xabi Alonso, which of course comes from off the back of the Clásico and everything that happened with Vinicius. There was, I mean, funny enough, you asked why they can't score goals. One of the questions that was asked of Alonso after the game was, well, you had Gonzalo Garcia and you had Endrick on the bench and they're both forwards. Why didn't you put them on the pitch? As if Mbappe and Vinicius and Rodrigo and Fede Valverde and Jude Bellingham and everybody else shouldn't be able to score goals. It's true, they didn't play well, but the most remarkable thing for me has been how quickly people have turned on Xabi Alonso for this.
Interesting that you say that, to hear that they would turn on a Real Madrid legend and the manager. And as we said, it's only been 2 games, but so high is the standard at Real Madrid. Do you feel like Xabi is under any pressure now?
Yes, I think he is. And you have to look at the context of this, and there's a couple of things here. First of all is that belief that this Real Madrid team hadn't yet had a really good performance against a really good team. Now, that stopped a little bit in the Clásico, because remember before that, they played quite well through the Club World Cup and then got battered by PSG. They started the season reasonably well, not very sparkling, not very exciting, but there was a structure developing. They were well organised. They were kind of clearly superior to their opponents. They played Atletico Madrid and suddenly conceded 5. They go into the Clásico, and when they beat Barcelona, everybody thinks, oh, well, there we go then. There's the big game. This is a starting point. They're going to move on from here. But everything that happened in the Clásico became kind of eclipsed a little bit by the reaction to Vinicius when he was substituted, all the noise around that, and then the slight doubt that started to creep in of people thinking, maybe it's just that Barcelona aren't that good at the moment. Maybe it's just that Barcelona had lots of absentees, lots of players not fully fit and weren't able to play particularly well. And then you get Real Madrid go to Liverpool, another good team, and they only lose 1-0, but they could lose 3 or 4 if it wasn't for the performance of Thibaut Courtois. So I think there is a context there which I think justifies some of the doubts, and I think justifies an analysis that says we're still not sure about where this is going. We're still not sure about the development of this team, that they're getting the structure in place, that the players are responding, that people want to do things the way that Xabi Alonso wants to do it. But even with those doubts, I think the degree of the reaction is extraordinary. And I think what that also tells you is that there's some doubts internally as well, because there are certain parts, how do I put this politely? There are certain parts of the Spanish media that when they start turning on a manager, it's not just because those members of the Spanish media have decided they quite fancy turning on a manager.
Okay, then. Well, I guess we can...
What does that mean?
Means that they probably have a reason. They can sense something there. No, you're not.
All right, if you say so.
But I suppose I understand it though, Robbo, because it's interesting to hear Sid say that there are these doubts surrounding Xabi Alonso and people wondering exactly where is this going. And it's a question that we asked the minute Xabi Alonso came in, knowing that he was going to have all this arsenal to play with, these big names. But does he know what his best 11 is? Do you think he does?
No, I don't think he does at the moment. I mean, there's a problem. He's trying to fit people in. He's trying to make sure, like Valverde playing at right back. At some point, he's got to bring Alexander-Arnold back in if he's bought him for all this money, or they have bought him for all this money. And Valverde's got to play in his better position in midfield. They've got to make sure they get a formation that suits them as well. But I think that the biggest problem they've had in the last 2 or 3 games is that they don't get enough players in the danger areas when the ball's in wide areas. They're expecting to score the perfect goal. Mbappe wants to come short at times, and he's playing very well, of course he is, and beat 3 players to get a shot away. Vinicius Junior wants to get it out wide and go at people and beat a couple of players and bend it in the corner. At times, you have to cross when you're playing against a stubborn team, you have to get the ball wide, get crosses into the box, and get players in the box. I saw against Liverpool and I saw against Rio, sometimes the ball went wide and they didn't have anybody in the box. Bellingham's trying to make it into the box, but other players are quite happy to receive it outside the box and start again, go to the other side. You have to score ugly goals when things aren't going your way. And at the moment, I can't see them scoring too many goals like the cross that Marcus Rashford hit for Lewandowski in the game against Celta Vigo. That's the goals that the Real Madrid aren't scoring, and they need to score.
Well, somebody that scored maybe ugly goals, maybe pretty goals, just goals all over La Liga is Lionel Messi, and he's been in his feels reminiscing about his time at Barcelona. He had this to say: last night I returned to a place I miss with my soul, a place where I was immensely happy, where you guys made me feel 1,000 times the happiest person in the world. I hope one day I can come back and not just say goodbye as a player, as I never got to. Now that's Leo Messi. He went to go and see the new Spotify Camp Nou. Of course, we're waiting for Barcelona's official first game at their new ground. He made a little stop there on his way to Argentina's camp. Sid, just hearing Messi talk about this, it's no surprise. We know exactly what Barcelona means to him, but it's interesting because he literally just signed extension at Inter Miami until 2028. So do you see him having time to go back to Barcelona?
As a player, it seems very unlikely, doesn't it? It seems very, very unlikely. In fact, I wonder about the timing of this, if there was part of him that wanted to ensure that he signed that deal with Miami before doing something like this, or more to the point, if he might have not done something like this had he not signed with Miami, because that would have provoked all sorts of rumours about, does this mean he's coming back? I think signing with Miami suggests he doesn't come back as a player. I think there's another really significant element about this. What he said has had enormous echo, in part because he went to the Camp Nou while Barcelona are up in Vigo. He went to the Camp Nou without the Barcelona board of directors or president knowing he was going. He didn't tell anyone he was doing this. And then he delivers a message which hints, well, it's not even a hint really, it's pretty explicit, that he wasn't able to leave the way that he would have wanted to leave. And he would like to come back in some capacity to the club. And I think that really and truly this has been, apart from the emotion to it, and I'm absolutely not going to question that from Messi's point of view, in the sense that maybe he was in Barcelona and he thought, you know what, I'd quite like to go and see the Camp Nou, let's do it, why not? Yeah, let's go and have a look. But I also think that this was quite pointed, and I think this potentially does damage the current board of directors and president of the club.
Ooh. Well, finally, Sid, just one more as well. Speaking about Atletico de Madrid now, they now have a new majority owner out of the USA. What can you tell us about this, and what does this mean for Diego Simeone?
Well, what it means for Diego Simeone isn't yet clear. All of the assumptions so far has been that, at least in the short term, that there's no reason to change him. What may well change, and then this, of course, would then change everything at the club, is the current CEO, the current president, and the whole, if you like, upstairs front office structure of the club. And then, of course, that would have a knock-on effect to Diego Simeone. I think it's far too early to know how this will play out, but if the investment is going to continue, and there is a sense that this might actually push them into a position where they get that little bit closer to Madrid and Barcelona in terms of consistently investing, which actually over the last decade or so they've kind of done to some extent anyway. I think of course there's going to be implications for Simeone, but that's not immediate. I think the immediate implications are, what does this do to the actual structure of the club and the decision makers who would then make that decision over what this means for Simeone?
All right, Sid, well, we're going to let you go, but before you do go, can you tell us exactly where are you? Because it looks like you're sitting on the floor of a bathroom.
Well, you're half right. I am sitting on the floor. It's not of the bathroom. It's a hotel room, and when you're in a hotel room, there's quite often. I'm going to let people into a secret here. The way that we do this connection is through a screen which I have to place in position. There was nowhere to place it except on a very, very, very low table, which means I can't be on a chair. I should be at the right height for the thing. I have to literally sit on the floor, where I admit and I apologise that the lighting's not good, the connection's not that good, and of course the guy talking to you, he's not that good either.
Oh, stop it. Sid just doesn't want to show us that he's staying in a suite in a 5-star hotel somewhere exotic, as per usual, because it's written into his contract. All right, Sid Lowe, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm sure we'll chat to you again soon. All right, well, for more potential transfer news, remember the January transfer window is just around the corner. Make sure to check out Transfer Talk over on ESPN.com. All right, well, a lot of the back pages in England are talking about Florian Wirtz, especially after Liverpool suffered quite a big loss to Manchester City in their last game. So much so that if Wirtz felt like everyone was against him, there is one man that is firmly in his corner, and that is the German head coach, Julian Nagelsmann, who knows him very well. He says, look, we all know what he's capable of, and it's perfectly normal for a player of his age to go through a bit of a dip in form. We can't expect him to perform at the same level for 3 years straight. Instead, we all need to support him a little bit so that he can clear his head here, and then maybe Liverpool could also help him out by scoring some of the chances he creates. That would be one idea, because he does create few chances. It's just that they somehow don't like to shoot the ball in, and that's also a part of the truth. Ooh. Ah, man, I wish I had someone that had my back like Julian Nagelsmann has Florian Wirtz's back. Well, someone who always has our back when we call him, Jan Aage Fjortoft, is joining us for this one. Jan, what are your thoughts on what Julian Nagelsmann just had to say about Wirtz?
Well, don't you ever attack the golden sons of German football at the moment, Musiala and Wirtz. Then they will fight back. We know that. And we saw that with Julian Nagelsmann now. Florian Wirtz is very loved in Germany, and is the hope, together with Musiala, when he comes back from injury, to take them into the World Cup and take them into new trophies. What he's trying to do is to show Julian Nagelsmann, show Florian Wirtz, come back to me. Me, Julian, will look after you. To be fair to him, he got some points there, because it's also a bit about timing. I'm not even starting by seeing the troubles Liverpool had, but he had some. And he also said about the talking about the Chelsea when he came on, he did a fantastic trick and Salah didn't manage to score and so on. But I think that what he tries to say is, and he understands the situation in England, that I think that Florian Wirtz with no goals or no assists in the Premier League and costing so much, we knew that will happen. That will happen to any player. But Julian Nagelsmann tries to defend him. I think the main problem now from Florian Wirtz that he is now the symbol of bad Liverpool seasons. But I see him as a consequence of a bad Liverpool seasons, where there are a lot of different other reasons why that has happened. But now, with the price tag and no assists and no goals, he is a perfect symbol for them.
Stevie, I mean, we just saw that stat there. He's actually creating chances, second most in the Premier League without an actual registered assist.
Oh, he's actually creating. I would listen. I've not missed him second of all Liverpool games this season.
Yeah.
And if he's created 15 chances, then I need to go and change my glasses. I'm sorry. This is totally and utterly just try to prop him up. There's only one thing I agree with him when, and that is that because Liverpool are struggling, then he clearly will struggle. He's a guy who operates in the final third. That's his place. But Liverpool, right now, can't string enough passes on to get in the final third, to get him on the ball when it matters most, where he's at his best. So that's the only thing I agree with. The rest of it is he's just buttering Wirtz up for when he comes back to play for Germany. That's all that is.
Robbo, what do you think?
Exactly. I mean, the first three sentences were good. You know, he talked about him being low on confidence and he's a great player and he'll come good, all that. But once he started mentioning Liverpool, that was the wrong thing to do. He didn't have to mention any of that. He just had to talk about the player himself. You know, he's a great player. He's lost confidence at the moment. He's gone to a new league, a new country. He's gone to a new club. It's going to be difficult for the first 3 or 4 months. You know, that's what he should have been saying. He's going to come back to Germany. He's going to be a sensational for us in the next couple of games and he'll get his form back. That's what he should have been saying, rather than sort of starting to blame Liverpool because that didn't go down particularly well.
Yeah, and what do you think about what Robbo just had to say, that once he's brought Liverpool into this, it didn't go down particularly well? As a player, how would you feel seeing your national coach calling out your club teammates?
Listen, I followed the first part of your show, and which were very interesting, the soap opera in Spain, and I guess this is the balance. This is the way things are working now. When you do the press conference at your national team, I see the same thing with Erling Haaland and Martin Ødegaard coming back to Norway. The Norwegian journalists are queuing up, want to ask anything, and Erling won't come to press conference. That's another thing, that he will just maybe do one then and again. So there is a lot of things up for misunderstanding. But I would, with Robbo saying that he didn't have to put that in. I saw the headlines in the English media, wasn't surprising. They kind of translated. It was a bit lost in translation. He didn't say, I blame Liverpool for his lack of form. He didn't say that, but he should know that that will be a kind of the thing that will happening when that happened. I self came to England in 93-94 season, not with the money that Florian Wirtz was on, but I was still a record signing in Swindon Town Football Club back in the Premier League season 2. That's old I am. And I felt the same when I came there. I played bad at the beginning, had a small injury. You're losing your confidence. And it's clearly, we have all followed Florian Wirtz's career. We have watched the Bundesliga. I've been close to seeing him in Leverkusen over the years. And of course, you see a player now losing slowly his confidence. And also, Steve is saying the right thing, because he's just like floating around. He can't find his position. And that is a terrible thing, because sometimes we pundits, we say, yeah, they are like machines. They have to produce. No, these are fragile young kids trying to find a place at the reigning champion of England. And if they're not working, if they're not playing well, you are the first victim, because you don't get a platform to find your place at.
If I was going to put a positive on Florian Wirtz, I would say that number one, he's kept his mouth shut. You know, he's not in the papers talking about how he's not playing and blah blah blah. And the other thing I would say is that when he actually has been on the field, he's not hiding. He's looking for the ball. He's trying. He's not sulking. He's not walking around with his tail between his legs. He's actually trying to get involved. He's trying to do what he does. It's just not working out. But, I mean, to be fair, to a guy as young as he is, throw in all the other stuff about new team and all the rest of it, but he is not hiding. And that is really important for both the fans to watch, for the manager, and for the other players as well, because, you know, they'll feel for him, but when they also see him not hiding and getting after it, even though it's not working out, that really matters.
Do you feel like it's going to put him in an awkward situation in the dressing room when they come back? Nagelsmann's comments?
No. Players are not interested in what international managers say. Well, we all know that the headline is not what's probably been said. And quite frankly, if Liverpool players are worried about what Nagelsmann says, just add it to the list of worries at the moment.
But somehow his stats on penalties lately has not been good, not for Manchester City. And remember, back when we played Israel, meaning Norway, he missed 2. He could take it again, and he missed that again. And he used to run up to the ball, watch the goalkeeper, Marashvili. He was very early going to his left on Sunday, but still Erling had kind of decided that he will go to that side, and that he didn't do before. So he's not in a great run of penalties at the moment, which worries me, because in 2 days' time, we have to win a home game to get to the World Cup. And I would like to see our boy doing ever so well, even on penalties.
Mark the date, because I think this was the first time we have ever heard Jan almost have something slightly critical to say about Erling Haaland.
Statement. I'm always on facts. I mean, how can you say not fact when you score 30 goals in a bad season? But I think he's a bit worried about that because a penalty should be a safe goal. It should be a easy goal to do, but his stats shows it differently now. And will he take the first penalty for Norway? Yes. Would he like to take the first penalty for Manchester City again? Yes. But remember, surprise to all of us, at the FA Cup final, he gave it away to Mamouche. So, well, we shouldn't see a lot into that, but I think that he's not very happy with his penalty form.
All right, well, either way, I'm sure Manchester City are so happy to see the form that he's in. And Manchester City, Robbo, seem to have turned over a new leaf. We're finally seeing the likes of Phil Foden scoring as well. We've been talking about whether they're looking at least close to the City of old. And now we know that they have gained ground on Arsenal. They have caught Arsenal before and chased them down. So Arsenal have been in this situation before. Do you see them, at least at the moment, becoming or being Arsenal's closest title challenger?
Yes, but I don't think it's going to be close come the end of the season. I still think Manchester City, they are playing much better. Doku, I thought, was magnificent against Liverpool. I did the Dortmund game, and they played well in that game. They scored 3 goals, and then, but they still can't actually dominate games as they used to. They can't dictate the pace of a game as they once did before, when Rodri was dominating midfield, when they kept the ball for fun, and the opposition were frightened of them. People aren't frightened of Manchester City anymore, and that's a key thing. They're happy to get to go and press Man City a bit higher. They think they can win the ball back. They're happy to stick it in behind Man City because they think they can cause problems. So Man City aren't unbeatable by any means, but they are better than they were earlier in the season, and I think they will be the closest rivals to Arsenal, if not close, come the end of the season in terms of points.
Yeah, and what do you think? Interesting to hear Robbo say that City don't have that fear factor, especially when Haaland is in fearsome form.
Well, fair, but I did the game on Sunday. I did my stats since the beginning of April. No teams in England have got more points than Manchester City. And yes, they don't dominate the games as they used to do. That's why Guardiola has changed around a bit, because this is a guy who always look a bit forward. What can I do to make the game, our team, better? I don't agree 100% with Robbo there. I think Arteta would love Liverpool to win that game. He is so afraid of Manchester City. He is so afraid of Pep Guardiola. He can't sleep at night. When he sees them coming back now and get 3 points against Liverpool, the weekend, did he get 1 point at Sunderland? That was the worst thing that could happen to him. Can you imagine his nightmares when he see Pep Guardiola coming again with a big left back? He see Haaland scoring goals for fun. He see Foden coming into it. And suddenly, Doku is Lionel Messi. Nobody told him that should happen. I think Arsenal are so afraid of Manchester City that don't want to... And I hear you, Robbie, but I don't see it.
Tell you what, Jan's kids...
Who's going to win the title then? Who's going to win the title, Jan?
Jan's kids must have loved story time at night. Hey?
I love it. I love how Jan describes it.
That's a great story, Jan.
I will give Arsenal the best title they ever have, Robbo. I will give it their favourite title, 11th of November, 2025. Let's see in 2026, in May. I'm not 100% sure, Robbo. Are you?
Yes. I'm 100% sure that Arsenal will win the title.
Enough.
Wow, I don't think I've ever seen Robbo this confident in Arsenal. Not 100%, but he said 100%. All right, well, we will 100% be back taking your questions over on Extra Time. Jan's sticking around, so is Robbo and Stevie. They'll be answering them today, so you know you got to tune in. All right, this is a look at the top half of the Premier League standings. As we showed and talked about, Arsenal still at the top, but I want to focus on the team in 6th, Aston Villa. Big win over Bournemouth at the weekend, winning 5 of their last 6 league games. Now, James Ollie and Rob Dawson spoke to Matty Cash about Villa's style of play on a recent episode of the Football Reporters.
I think at Villa, we try and mix it up. We try and play and gain confidence from being good in build-up, because you can have success from it. If you build up really well, you can obviously lose the ball when they score. But Unai always says to us, if we lose the ball and give it away, we just keep trying, we keep doing it. But obviously, old-fashioned way is to get it into the striker, hold it up and play second balls, isn't it? And that can be effective as well. So, trying to find a balance, really.
And I guess the manager is obviously a big part of that as well. I mean, just talk to us a bit about what makes him such a great coach. He's known for his very long video meetings. Are they as long as people say they are?
They're getting longer, to be honest. It's funny because when you win a few games in a row, he gets more demanding and the videos go double as long. We've definitely been in the video room for sometimes over an hour and 40 minutes easily.
Wow.
We have, like, obviously when we play, we then the week after watch the last game and he'll clip everything, literally hour and 40 minutes easily of what we can do. It's funny because when we score, he then, when he shows the clip of the goal, he'll then show other things we could do, even though we've just scored. It's like we've just scored, and he's like showing us different like lines of where we could have played, and that just shows the detail and the intensity that he's at, and what he like how intense he is, and how much he wants us to improve.
You have a dedicated fullback coach, right? Is that right at Villa?
Yeah.
Because that's not common, I don't think, is it? I mean, is that something you'd experienced before Unai came in?
Nah, never. No. We got fullback coaches, and obviously the coach does do a lot of stuff with other positions as well. But in terms of fullbacks, for me, I do loads of like one-to-one stuff. Even, for example, the day before we played City, I'd done 20 minutes just alone with him on marking Doku, on how to mark him. And I do a lot of research myself and studying on wingers and stuff, but it was like 20 minutes, and then Doku didn't even start the next day. So it's like, done all that for no reason. Because I did plan for him to play, and then I didn't. Savinho ended up playing left wing as well. So I was watching loads of clips on Doku thinking, this is how I'm going to defend him one-to-one. He didn't start. So yeah, that's how, that was annoying, but.
Man.
Well, in my 11 years of working at ESPN, I don't think I've ever seen our Rob Dawson smile so much, and he wasn't even talking to a Manchester player. But anyways, interesting to hear there, Stevie. Video sessions of about an hour and 40 minutes long. I think if you're going to sit me down for that long, you might start passing out snacks, maybe a drink or two. But you a fan of those methods from Unai Emery?
Like, who am I to argue with Unai Emery? He's obviously a great coach, and he's got his way of working. So who am I to poo-poo anything he does?
How long would you realistically last? So would you sit down there?
However, if you think people are sitting in there for more than 10, 15 minutes and not falling asleep and sticking matches in their eyes to look as though they're listening and watching what you're saying, you're absolutely kidding yourself on.
Yeah.
You are kidding yourself on. Mm-hmm. I absolutely. If you want to get a fullback and do little clips for them on who the opposition are or what they're doing, yeah, but you set a squad of players in a room for an hour and 40 minutes. Good luck.
Yeah.
You're kidding yourself on if you think if the only time they listen is if it's about them or it's in their spot. Mm-hmm. And as soon as it moves somewhere else,
they're out.
Hey, the earmuffs are back on, and it wake me up when it's my turn.
Yeah, and you were laughing there or chuckling. You seem to enjoy that little clip from Matty Cash. What stood out to you?
Oh, well, first of all, Cash was so honest. I love that. We should have more of those interviews, and I think footballers and clubs should do them. But I got that Mr. Bean feeling when Mr. Bean is in the church and he tried to concentrate. And he kind of, because there are no players that can, like Steve is saying, for 1 hour and 40 minutes. I've never met a player who loves to be in there for 15 minutes. And my favorite story, we played Aston Villa with Ravanelli, and he didn't understand a word, and I had a translator next to him. And Brian Robson, our manager, we have some kind of analysis, and he asked Ravanelli, is that okay, Rav? And Rav went into a rant. I've never heard a rant like that in my life in Italian. And we had a translator sitting next to him, and all the words came out, catastrophe, difenso, catastrofo. And when he was finished, the translator looked at Brian Robson and said, yes, it's okay. And I just get that feeling in team meetings. And I grew up in the 90s with our national coach, Egil Olsen. We had something called a video cassette that we analyzed the games on with FF and REW, forward and back. And I swear to God, we hardly couldn't we couldn't sleep afterwards because we were sleeping during the meeting.
Robbo, what did you think? I love how Jan had to explain VHS right there. Fast forward and rewind.
Well, if I was Hansi Flick, I'd spend 2 hours working on the back four looking at videos, what they could and shouldn't have done, because
Send the rest
because
on.
you could spend all day long and you could go through every moment of the game and say, well, you should have pressed the ball and you should have dropped off. So it needs to be done on occasions, but I agree with Steve. You can only do it for maximum half an hour. And what we used to do at Wimbledon when I was the head coach there, we had a sports analyst who used to clip up all the players' touches, and we'd send them to the players on whatever it was, on links, and then they could have a look at it and decide, and then if they wanted to come and speak to you about anything, they could. So that was the way we did it, but anything more than half an hour, the players are going to get absolutely bored.
Footballers have the attention span of a puppy. I'm telling you, I work with them. Look at this. On a good day. All right, well, for the full interview with Matty Cash, you can check it out over on the latest edition of the Football Reporters. Welcome into Extra Time, everyone. Alexis hanging out with Jan, Robbo, and our Stevie Nickel, who never went to college. Did any of you guys go to college? Jan, Robbo, no, you were busy getting $1 million?
I got to college in Norway, but it's not.
No,
your
I certainly
US
didn't go to college. No.
College in Norway, 3 years. Yeah.
Look at that. But
Oh, did you go to college?
well, I had to. I wasn't getting $1 million
you?
contract at 18 years old to play professional football.
Yeah, neither did any of the three of us
Who
either.
did? Only Stevie did know that.
Only Stevie. Stevie. All right, first question now. Who is a better team right now, Bayern Munich or Arsenal? Robbo, what do you think?
Ooh.
I'm gonna go with, for the stats, it has to be Bayern Munich, because they've won everything that's been thrown at them. They're winning games by 3 and 4 and 5. They're playing some great football. They're defending very well, and they're doing well in the Champions League. So I'm going to say, at the moment, just based on stats and the score lines, it has to be Bayern Munich.
Oh, it's a good thing that these two are going to play each other soon. Jan, what about you?
I was desperate for Robbo not going for Arsenal, so I can have an argument. But yes, I would say Bayern Munich, but I will give Arsenal a bit of encouragement, because this weekend they, after 16 games in a row in all competitions winning, they only got a 2-2 at Union Berlin, and Harry Kane equalizes in 90+3. Vincent Kompany was celebrating, and now the conspiracy is that Vincent Kompany is desperate to go through the season without losing, like Bayer Leverkusen did a couple of seasons ago. But that's going to be one fantastic football game between Bayern Munich and Arsenal. But I still think, also based on the known fact that now that Bayern Munich will be slight favourites.
Stevie, what say you?
Well, you'd have to go with Bayern because of the manner of the victories.
Yeah.
You know, Arsenal have gotten victories in all kinds of different ways. Generally, Bayern have done it by just basically outplaying, outcreating, outscoring for fun the opposition. So right now, you would have to go with Bayern.
All right, everyone going with the German Giants. Hard to argue there. Robbo, next question for you. Eze was kind of invisible in the game against Sunderland, so should Arteta look to play him a little higher up, closer to the forwards?
Well, his favourite position is sort of, when he was at Crystal Palace, was playing on the left-hand side, but just tucking in. So he's almost playing through an inside left position. That seems to be his best position. But Arteta's got to play the formation that he wants to play, and he's got several other players that can play in that role. So Eze can play anywhere along the front line, I think, and he can play as an attacking midfield player. So no, I don't think Arteta has to sort of say, oh, you've got to play closer to the front players. He's a good player, and over the course of the season, he'll score and create goals for Arsenal. Not always in the side, but he will always create and score goals.
Jan, this is your area of the pitch. What do you think?
Well, I think it's a bit under-communicated, and I'm not speaking for my Norwegians again now, but I think it's a bit under-communicated that Arsenal is missing Martin Ødegaard. Yes, they were having. Yeah, but they were. Yeah,
course they are.
I'm not.
I was just going to say that as well.
I'm a Norwegian, because he's playing in there, and Arsenal is winning in different ways. It's a trend now to say that they only win through set pieces, but that is a part of our football. We respect them for that. But for Arsenal to win the league, they also need to have a great game plan. And the conductor there, you can be as English as much as you want and celebrate in Declan Rice, but the conductor for Arsenal is Martin Ødegaard, and they need to get him back.
Stevie, you want to give in your 2 cents? You and Dan had a bit of a debate over Eze when he first joined Arsenal.
Did we?
Yeah. Same. I believe you said that he should play now.
I can't remember exactly, but I'm going to guess Dan was wrong. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I think if there was one game not to judge Eze on, it would be Sunderland.
Yeah.
Sunderland, in general, were missing out in the middle of the park and making it a physical battle. So Sunderland wouldn't be the right place to judge him. I understand what Jan's getting at with Ødegaard. You know, in the final third, he goes about it in a different way. He sees it. He sees a little gap pass that a lot of players don't see. But I quite like Eze in there. I've got to say that.
He is a special player. Next question is for all except Stevie. Oh, you've been included. Is it time to give Manchester United... Oh, I see why. Is it time to give Manchester United some credit for their transfer business. Lamens and Mbomo especially seem to have
Squirrel.
changed
Can we throw the squirrel
the team
analogy in?
drastically. I did
Squirrel in a
not
knot.
send in this question. Stevie, this is for everyone except you. Robbo, what say you?
Well, I like Mbomo. I liked him when he was at Brentford, and he's been their best player when I've seen him for Manchester United. So it's a good signing. But, you know, you can't suddenly say all Manchester United signings are good just based on that one and the goalkeeper. And Mbomo's a very good player. He always was at Brentford, and he's transitioned well to Manchester United and is playing with confidence. So at the moment, he looks a very good signing.
I would say that counts as some credit. Jan, what about you?
I think we
One
have
out
to
of
give
10 's no
Manchester
bad.
United. Yeah, but we'll have to give Manchester United some credit. I'm not saying they turned it around, but at least they've stopped the negative spiral. Do you say that in English? Yeah, English spiral. Spiral. They turned it around, and I was at Old Trafford the first game. I will throw in Cunha there as well,
Yes.
because they found their position between in that space between midfield and the striker. Very good. I'm not saying this to be negative, but let me see, I will see some more games of the goalkeeper. Don't throw him in now that he's the biggest thing since Peter Schmeichel. I will wait a bit for that one, but I like the way Manchester United have somehow managed to get better players in that fits more the way of playing, and that has not been the case the last 3-4 seasons.
Oh, Jan, such a breath of fresh air. I love when Jan is on.
Where am I United?
You're not allowed to.
Where am I United? 7.
You're not allowed to speak in this question, Stevie.
7.
We're moving on to the next one. Yeah, where's Liverpool?
Well, when was the last time United won the league?
Oh, steady on. When's the last time?
Steady on.
When's the last time
You're sitting
Liverpool
here.
won a game?
You're sitting here like a Cheshire cat, and you're in 7th.
Listen, that was better than 17. I'll tell you
Seriously?
that much. All right, next question. Who's more likely to qualify for the World Cup, Scotland or Norway?
Oh, I don't know who Norway's. Jan, who are Norway playing?
I'll just give you the scenario.
Yes.
We have the best goal difference since Elvis was in Las Vegas.
Right.
We beat Italy 3-0. So Thursday at 6 o'clock Central European time, we are playing Estonia at home. Estonia ranked 130 in the world, and we just need to win. But I've been living next door to Alice for 25 years, and I've been just waiting for Norway to get to a World Cup. I'm getting more and more nervous as closer we get. Yes, I hear you. You will say, we will beat Estonia, but I just need to get us over the line.
Yeah.
Oh, Jan, we know exactly how you feel.
Yeah, no, as a joke, I know exactly how you feel. And
Yep.
yes, 100% Norway has a better chance.
Yeah, Scotland have Greece.
We've got Greece
And let me
away.
tell you, English people would prefer English people would prefer to see Norway at the World Cup than they would Scottish play.
Here he is.
See,
Here he
it's
is.
weird that Robbo says that.
Why?
Well, because there's not many English people say that.
That they would prefer Norway. I feel like they're quite vocal about their.
Maybe I know. Maybe it's just
lack of love for
the English
Scotland.
people I know, but they always say to me.
Well, hang on.
They always say to me.
Scotland hates England. Wales hate England.
Yes.
Northern Ireland and Eire hate England.
Yes.
Sometimes England hate the other nations as well. Scotland.
But it's
They only speak now. They love them.
It's
I think
quite
you love-
rare.
I would love to see Scotland at the World Cup. I
Me too.
love when Scotland there. I love Scotland. It's like Norway, just not with a big chance that we have now to get to the World Cup.
Rob,
Get the bagpipes
Rob was in
out.
a small club of Englishmen that don't want Scotland there.
I know. Robbo's always one to express his hate.
What's the biggest rugby game that when England plays Scotland at rugby? You hate the Scots. You're desperate for England to win.
Oh, you're gonna fire
Shut
up
the jocks
Stevie
up.
now.
That's what we always say.
Shut the jocks
That's different.
up.
If it's England v Scotland, then that's different. That's a
But
different
they can't
argument.
take away our dignity. We have to need some films
Well,
coming
let's
out.
just hope that Norway,
To be
Scotland,
fair-
and Jamaica
Yeah,
all qualify
yeah,
after this
yeah.
week, and then we can all have
Who's
a
Jamaica
party.
playing, Alexis?
Well, we
who
have
are they playing?
Shaka's Trinidad and Tobago this weekend, and Trinidad
Okay.
and Tobago need to win that one. I don't know if I feel like doing Shaka a favor there, and then it all goes down to Kingston on the 18th of November. We play against Curacao, but Jan, same thing. You would think we could take care of Curacao, but I'm nervous as well. So we will see.
See, what Robbo didn't explain to you there was,
What?
well, he's talking about when England plays Scotland, they all want to drub Scotland, right?
Yeah.
What he's not telling you is that that's the only game where the majority of English people feel that way. Where if you turn it the other way, Scottish people, it doesn't have to be just us against England when we want them to lose. We don't care who they're playing.
Stevie,
we want them to lose.
Stevie, I'll tell you a quick story. I'll make it very quick. Years ago, when I was in the 74 World Cup, my dad was picking me up from school, and I had a very posh headmaster. I went to a private school, and I was around his house. And as he came out, he said to my dad, "I say, Scotland have just taken the lead against Zaire." And my dad said, "Oh, that's bad news, isn't it?" And the headmaster went, "You can't say that. That's you're being anti-UK." And my dad went, "I hate Scotland."
Whoa, beautiful.
Now we know where Robbo gets it from.
I follow suit.
Now we know where Robbo gets it from.
But how? I understand the rivalry. I mean, I don't like. I was with Freddie Ljungberg, the Swede, this Sunday, and of course I'm having a go at him. I don't want Sweden to be there. Norway should be their own. But deep inside, I would like Sweden to be there, like Denmark to be there. And you can't. I mean, you have to love Scotland. Robbo,
Yeah.
it's not possible. The Scots are so nice.
They're so
and I love
wonderful.
England as well.
You're right.
I love England as well. But
The Scots are
Yeah.
great.
Have you seen the Scots when they've had a drink? Have you seen
That's
the
why
Scots
we
when
love
they've had a
them so
drink?
much. That's why they're our favourites.
There's the dopey drunks and there's the aggressive drunks.
Yeah, but if of course. But if you're gonna hate everybody getting drunk, it's not down only to the Scottish.
Exactly. Robbo, what are your favourite and least favourite stadiums to call a match from?
I love going to Dortmund because the atmosphere is absolutely sensational.
Oh,
I like going to Bayern Munich as well. That's a good stadium. I enjoyed going to the San Siro, which is going to be knocked down soon apparently, but that's got a lovely atmosphere, great position as well. So there's plenty of grounds. What don't I like going to? I didn't like going to Girona. That was a strange old ground. You had the deck chair almost doing the commentary from there. Very small ground. And I never like going to the Emirates. It's soulless, I would say.
Robbo.
I just thought I'd get that in.
You'd never know that this was a man who proudly donned the Arsenal shirt many a time. Was it over 100 caps, Robbo?
You should know what he's talking about then, shouldn't you?
180
Exactly.
games for Arsenal, yeah.
He would have done it, of course, at Highbury, and of course, in comparison, that is the thing, that the Emirates is a bit soulless in comparison.
Oh, you talk about polar opposites.
Yeah, total opposites.
I like it. I like it when we do, Alexis, when we do the pitch side interviews. I like to be at stadiums when you are based when the players are going to the dressing rooms because then you got something under control. Dortmund, fantastic. I mean, the atmosphere, same as Bayern. But also for us pitch side reporters, we are standing in the kind of corridor by the dressing rooms, and then somehow you feel at least it's easier to deal with the head of communication, UEFA or the Premier League. And I love to be at City as well, but sometimes we are in that room just waiting for every time the door opens and someone coming from Premier League and says, "It's only us," and we just wait for players and wait for players. But I still think that Etihad got too much criticism. Sometimes there is a great atmosphere even at Etihad.
I'll tell you which stadium I enjoyed. Plymouth Argyle. When they took out Liverpool. It's a great stadium. Small, you're in, you're out, good snacks.
Oh, with Grimsby,
Love that.
not so much.
Oh, I see what you did
Oh,
there.
so that's what it comes
Anyways,
down to. Good snacks.
Yeah, I love my food.
Oh yeah, you need good snacks.
Rian
Pizza
knows we need to
reporter
be
love
fed.
that.
We're hardworking people.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
much so.
Well, hang on. Hard working, Alexis. I remember going to a game at Chelsea with you. I think that it was against Plymouth in the FA Cup, and you spent the whole of the second half in the players' tunnel, not watching the game.
Robbo,
Because there was
missed the
nice
interview.
snacks, if you remember rightly.
I'll be there,
That was
I'll be
not
there, I'll be there in a minute.
That was not why. It's
I'll be there
because
in a
I was
minute.
fighting for my life from the cold, okay? Jamaicans, we cannot function in that Baltic atmosphere. Only people with no heart and soul
minutes.
like Robbo can.
I'm
All right,
having
well,
said
listen,
Finish this, hold on.
we're going to go get some more snacks right
yeah,
now.
can I have some more?
ESPN
Having
FC.
said
Can I have some
that,
more, yeah?
We will be
Stamford Bridge, great snacks.
We will
Fine,
be
I'm on.
back
Snacks at Stamford
tomorrow, but Stamford Bridge, some of the best media food, I would say, in the Premier League, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.